Have you ever walked into a room and felt like people instantly judged you? Maybe you caught someone giving you a quick glance before looking away. Maybe conversations seem to die down when you join in. Or worse, people subtly distance themselves without saying a word. It's frustrating, right? Now let's be real, sometimes people judge unfairly and that's on them. But what if, without realizing it, we're doing things that make others lose respect for us? What if some of our habits are quietly pushing people away, making us seem unreliable, untrustworthy, or just difficult to be around? That's exactly what we're diving into today. 7 habits that could be damaging your reputation and how to break free from them. And before you start feeling defensive, let me tell you this. I've been guilty of most of these myself. No judgment here. Just a brutally honest look at how we can improve and earn real respect. But here's the key. This isn't just about being liked. It's about becoming the kind of person who commands respect, builds strong relationships, and shows up in life with integrity. And who better to learn from than the Stoics? They believe that our character determines the quality of our lives. If we want better relationships, we have to build habits that earn respect. So buckle up, because some of these might hit close to home. But that's a good thing. It means we have the power to change them. Let's get started. Let's be real. Everyone loves a little drama. Gossiping feels harmless, like a fun way to bond over shared secrets. It makes you feel included, like you're in the know. But here's the hard truth. The moment people see you as someone who gossips, they stop trusting you. I learned this the hard way. I used to think gossiping made me more relatable. If I shared the latest scoop, I thought people would see me as fun, someone they could count on to always have the inside story. But over time, I noticed a shift. People would still talk to me, but only about surface-level things. They weren't opening up anymore, and why would they? If I was talking about others behind their backs, what stopped me from doing the same to them? That's the real cost of gossip. It doesn't just hurt the person you're talking about. It damages your own reputation. When people realize you can't be trusted with private information, they start keeping their distance. And trust, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild. But let's go deeper. Why do we gossip in the first place? More often than not, it's a sign of insecurity. Tearing others down makes us feel momentarily better about ourselves. It shifts the focus away from our own flaws. But in the long run, it creates a toxic cycle. Instead of working on our own growth, we waste energy dissecting other people's lives. So how do you break the habit? Start by redirecting conversations. If someone tries to pull you into gossip, shift gears. Instead of discussing someone's personal drama, ask about something positive or productive. And if you can't change the topic, set a boundary. Try saying, "I'd rather not talk about that," and watch how much more people respect you. That's a power move. People admire those who don't engage in negativity. Instead of seeing you as just another source of gossip, they'll see you as someone they can trust. And in a world full of noise, trust is rare and valuable. Gossip might feel good in the moment, but real confidence comes from focusing on your own growth instead of tearing others down. If you want to build meaningful relationships, start by cutting out the habit that destroys them the fastest. Passive aggression is the art of not saying what you mean, but expecting others to understand anyway. It's when someone asks if you're okay and you say, "I'm fine," but everything about your tone, body language, and behavior says otherwise. It's the sarcastic text, the cold shoulder, or the cryptic post meant for one person but vague enough to avoid confrontation. I used to do this all the time. If a friend upset me, I wouldn't tell them. I'd drop hints, hoping they'd pick up on it. And if they didn't, I'd get even more frustrated. In my mind, I thought if they really cared, they'd just know why I'm upset. Newsflash, they didn't. Most people aren't mind readers, and even if they are, they're likely ignoring those signals on purpose. Passive aggression is like playing emotional dodgeball. Instead of facing the issue, we throw indirect hits, hoping the other person catches on. But all it does is create confusion, resentment, and unnecessary drama. No one wants to be around someone who plays mind games, and social media, it's made passive aggression even worse. Cryptic tweets, vague complaints in Instagram captions, indirect jabs in group chats, we've all seen it. Maybe we've even done it. But let's be honest, those posts don't solve anything. They don't fix the issue. They just make us look immature and emotionally unavailable. So how do we fix it? By practicing direct communication, even when it's uncomfortable. Instead of saying, "Wow, must be nice to have so much free time," try, "Hey, I felt disappointed when you canceled our plans. Can we talk about it?" It feels scary at first, but it's the only way to build real, strong relationships. The truth is, people respect honesty over emotional manipulation. When I finally started telling people directly when something upset me, something wild happened, they actually listened. Instead of walking away confused or annoyed, they understood my feelings. And real conversations lead to real solutions. If you ever catch yourself about to send a passive-aggressive text or post a cryptic complaint, pause. Ask yourself, what do I actually want from this? Do I want attention, or do I want to fix the problem? Because if the goal is to fix things, the fastest way is through direct and honest communication. Stop expecting people to read your mind. Say what you mean what you say. That's how you earn real respect. We all know that person, the one who always has an excuse, missed a deadline. The Wi-Fi was down, fail showed up late. It is never their fault. There is always a reason things did not for a long time. I was that person. I was the king or queen of excuses. Anytime something went wrong, I had a justification ready. Did not get a job interview? The company is biased. Not making progress in my goals? I do not have the right connections. Failed at something. It just was not meant to be. But here is the truth. I was not unlucky. I was not a victim. I was just avoiding responsibility. The wake-up call that changed everything. One day in college, I failed an important exam. My first instinct was to blame the test. The professor is too strict. The questions were unfair. I had too much going on. Then I vented about it to a friend, expecting sympathy. Instead, they hit me with, "But did you actually study?" That question hit me hard because deep down, I knew the answer. No, I had not really studied. I crammed the night before, hoping to get lucky. I made excuses instead of putting in the work. Later that year, a professor gave me one of the hardest truths I had ever heard. Every time you make an excuse, you are giving away your power. If everything is someone else's fault, then you will never be in control of your own life. That was it. That was the moment it clicked. The problem was not my circumstances. It was me. The excuses were just shields protecting me from uncomfortable truths. Because if I admitted I failed because of my own choices, then I would have to face my shortcomings. And that was scary. The Stoic perspective, owning your mistakes equals taking back power. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." We cannot control everything that happens, but we can always control how we respond. When we take full responsibility for our actions, we stop being victims of circumstance and start becoming the authors of our own lives. The difference between people who stay stuck and people who succeed is simple: ownership. Successful people do not blame their past, their upbringing, or bad luck. They focus on what they can control and take action. How to break free from the excuse cycle. So how do you change? By embracing mistakes instead of avoiding them. Pause when you feel the urge to make an excuse. Ask yourself, is this really out of my control, or am I just avoiding responsibility? Own your mistakes. Instead of saying, "It is not my fault," try, "I messed up and here is how I will fix it." Stop seeing failure as personal. Instead of thinking, "I am just not good at this," ask, "What can I learn from this mistake?" Watch what happens. People will respect you more. You will respect yourself more, and most importantly, you will grow. Because real growth only happens when you face your failures head-on, not when you run from them. The final challenge. Next time you catch yourself making an excuse, pause. Instead of blaming bad luck, ask, what could I have done differently? Instead of blaming someone else, ask, how can I take ownership of this? Instead of saying, I cannot control this, focus on what you can control. Your life will only change when you stop blaming the world and start taking responsibility for your part. In it, that is how you take back control. Hygiene is not just about smelling good. It is about self-respect. The way you take care of yourself sends a message to the world. It shows whether you value yourself, whether you take life seriously, and whether you respect the spaces and people around you. For a long time, I thought skipping deodorant was no big deal. If I did not feel sweaty, I assumed I did not need it. But then one day, someone not so subtly suggested that I try a new brand of body spray. At first, I laughed it off. Then I saw the look on their face. It hit me. I was the person people were silently avoiding. That realization was humiliating. Up until that moment, I had no idea that my lack of hygiene was affecting how people saw me. And here is the hard truth. No one will tell you directly. They will not pull you aside and say, hey, you need to shower more. Instead, they will just distance themselves without explanation. That moment forced me to ask myself, what other areas of my life was I neglecting? Hygiene is more than just cleanliness. It reflects your mental state. Hygiene is not just about body odor. It is a reflection of overall self-care and mental health. Have you ever noticed that when you are feeling down, even the simplest things, brushing your teeth, washing your hair, wearing fresh clothes, start to feel like a chore? That is because hygiene is not just physical. It is tied to your mindset. During a stressful period, I started letting small things slip. I skipped showers occasionally. I put off doing laundry. I told myself, it does not matter. Before long, those small habits piled up. And the worse I looked, the worse I felt. And the worse I felt, the less effort I put into taking care of myself. It became a downward spiral. That is the real danger. Neglecting hygiene is not just about appearances. It is about how you treat yourself. When you stop caring for yourself, it is often a sign that something deeper is wrong. And whether you realize it or not, other people notice. They may not say anything, but they are forming silent judgments. Small habits create big changes. If you want to start feeling better, start with small daily self-care habits. Brush your teeth twice a day. Use deodorant. Yes, every day. Shower regularly, even if you are not leaving the house. Keep your nails trimmed and clean. Wear fresh clothes even if you are just at home. It sounds basic, but these small actions make a huge difference. When you take care of yourself, you feel better. And when you feel better, confidence follows. If you are stuck in a rut, start here, because the way you treat yourself is how the world will treat you. Complaining is like a black hole. It does not just drain your energy, it pulls in everyone around you. Nobody enjoys being around someone who constantly focuses on the negative. The worst part is that most people do not even realize how often they do it. There was a time when I complained about everything. Bad weather? I had something to say. Slow internet? The world was obviously against me. Bad coffee? Clearly my day was ruined. It felt normal, just small frustrations, right? Then one day, a friend looked me straight in the eye and said, "You know you complain more than anyone I have ever met, right?" That hit hard. I was not trying to be negative. I was just venting. But in that moment, I realized how exhausting I must have been to be around. Instead of bringing good energy into conversations, I was dragging people down. The truth about complaining. Complaining is often just a cover for bigger frustrations. It is not really about the slow Wi-Fi, the weather, or the coffee. It is about feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or out of control. When I was in a bad place mentally, I complained more. Why? Because it was easier than facing what was really bothering me. The more I focused on what was wrong, the worse I felt. And the worse I felt, the more I complained. It became a cycle of negativity that affected my mood, my relationships, and even my confidence. How to break the habit of complaining. Practicing gratitude and reframing your mindset is the way forward. Gratitude is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about training your brain to see what is still good, even when things go wrong. Next time you feel like complaining, pause and reframe it. If it is raining, say, "At least I do not have to water my plants." Stuck in traffic? More time to listen to a podcast. Work is stressful? At least I have a job that challenges me. It sounds simple, but this shift is life-changing. The less you focus on the negatives, the more you start seeing opportunities instead of obstacles. The energy you bring affects the people around you. People love being around positive, solution-oriented individuals. You will notice that the more you practice gratitude, the more others are drawn to your energy. So next time you feel like complaining, pause. Instead of saying, "This is terrible," try asking, "What is one good thing I can take from this?" Because life is not about what happens to you. It is about how you choose to see it. Being late is not just about poor time management. It is about what it communicates to others. Whether you realize it or not, every time you show up late, you are sending a message. My time is more valuable than yours. That may not be your intention, but intentions do not matter. Actions do. For years, I brushed off my lateness as just who I am. I am just bad with time. 5 minutes late is not a big deal. It never seemed like a problem, until one day it finally caught up with me. Gut call. That changed my perspective. I was running late for a coffee meetup with a close friend, again. When I finally arrived, they looked at me and said, "Your lateness tells me my time does not matter to you." I was stunned. I had never thought of it that way before. I was not intentionally being disrespectful. I figured 5 or 10 minutes here and there was no big deal. But from their perspective, my lateness was not just an inconvenience. It was a sign that I did not value their time. At that moment, I realized something important. People do not judge you by your excuses. They judge you by your actions. If I kept showing up late, it did not matter how good my intentions were. People would still feel unimportant. That thought stuck with me, but the more I reflected on it, the more I realized something even deeper. Lateness is often a psychological issue, not just poor time management. I started noticing a pattern in my own life. I was always on time for things I was excited about, but late for things that stressed me out. It made me ask myself, why was I only running late to certain things? That is when I realized chronic lateness is not just about time. It is often about avoidance. Ever noticed how some people are only late to things they do not really want to do? Or how being late can be an easy excuse to avoid fully showing up? For me, it was not just carelessness. It was a subconscious fear of commitment and responsibility. If I was nervous about a job interview, an important meeting, or even just a social event, I would stall. I would tell myself, I just lost track of time, but deep down I was avoiding something. And here is where it gets worse. When lateness becomes a habit, it starts affecting every area of your life. You are late to meetups, so friends stop inviting. You are late to work, so your boss does not see you as reliable. You are late to opportunities, so you miss them. Lateness is not just about the clock. It is about your reputation. And reputations, once damaged, are hard to rebuild. How to break free from chronic lateness. So how do you fix this? It is not just about setting alarms or running out the door faster. It is about changing how you see time. Set alarms earlier, not just for when you need to leave, but also for reminders leading up to it. Prepare the night before. Lay out your clothes, pack your bag, and eliminate last-minute delays. Hold yourself accountable. Instead of saying, "I will try to be on time," tell yourself, "I will be there 5 minutes early." But beyond these simple fixes, The real change comes when you shift your mindset. The mindset shift that changes everything. Being on time is not just about logistics, it is about integrity. It tells people you are reliable, you respect their time, and you take life seriously. And let us be real. Everyone is busy, everyone has responsibilities, distractions, and unexpected delays. But some people still manage to be on time. Why? Because they prioritize it. So next time you are running late, stop and ask yourself, am I really bad with time or am I making excuses? Because being late all the time is not just a bad habit. It is a signal to others that they cannot depend on you. And that is not the reputation you want. A smooth transition to the next lesson once. I started fixing my lateness. I saw a major shift. People trusted me more. They saw me as someone who was serious about their commitments. But fixing my lateness also forced me to confront another toxic habit, the victim mindset. Because here is the thing. When you stop making excuses for being late, you also start seeing where else in your life you have been making excuses. And that brings us to one of the worst habits that can keep you stuck in life. Playing the victim, the mindset that traps you in mediocrity. The problem, the victim mentality keeps you stuck. Everyone knows someone who always plays the victim. Nothing is ever their fault. Life is unfair. The world is against them. No matter what happens, they always have someone or something to blame. They act like life is happening to them instead of realizing they have the power to change their circumstances. For a long time, I was that person. I had convinced myself that my failures were not my responsibility. If I failed, I thought it was because someone else had an unfair advantage. If I did not get an opportunity, I believed it was because people did not recognize my worth. If things went wrong, I chalked it up to bad luck. The pattern was clear. I was waiting for the world to fix my problems for me. But then I had a brutal realization. I was the common denominator in all my problems. Yes, bad things happen. Yes, life can be unfair. But staying stuck in a victim mindset was not helping me. It was keeping me trapped. Why playing the victim feels safe, but keeps you stuck? Here is the hard truth. Blaming external factors feels comfortable because it removes responsibility. It is easier to say, I cannot succeed because of my circumstances, than to admit, maybe I need to change my approach. The victim mindset is a trap. It makes you feel like you are off the hook for your mistakes, your failures, and your circumstances. But here is the reality. The more you blame external factors, the less control you have over your own life. And when you give up control, you give up growth. For a long time, I was waiting for life to be fair. I wanted the world to recognize my struggles and somehow reward me for them. I kept telling myself, if only things were different, I would be successful. But then, I had a wake-up call that changed everything. The moment that changed everything. One day, I was ranting to a friend about how unfair life was. I was going on and on, listing all the ways I had been wronged. I expected them to agree with, to tell me I was right, that life was unfair, that I deserved better. Instead, they hit me with a question I was not ready for. If you keep waiting for life to be fair, you are going to be waiting forever. What are you actually doing to fix it? I was silent. That stung. Because deep down, I knew they were right. I had been spending so much time focusing on what was wrong that I never stopped to ask myself, what can I actually do about it? That one question shifted my entire perspective. How? To break free from the victim mindset. The only way to escape the victim mentality is to reframe setbacks as challenges instead of punishments. Instead of thinking, life is unfair, say, life is testing me. How can I overcome this? Instead of saying, why does this always happen to me, ask, what can I do differently next time? Instead of blaming others, take responsibility and ask, what part of this can I control? This mindset shift changes everything, because when you start focusing on what you can control, you stop feeling powerless. Take your power back when you stop asking, why me? And start asking, What can I do about it? You take your power back. Suddenly, you are no longer just a character in the story, you are the one writing it. Here is the truth. Life is not out to get you, but if you keep acting like a victim, you will never be the hero of your own story. Moment you stop waiting for life to change and start making changes yourself, everything shifts. Take responsibility. Take action. Watch how everything starts to change. A smooth transition to the next lesson. Once I started breaking free from the victim mindset, something surprising happened. I realized that taking responsibility for my life was not as scary as I thought. In fact, it felt empowering, but it also made me realize something even more important. If I wanted people to see me differently, I had to act differently. And that brings us to our final lesson, how the way you present yourself affects how others treat you. Coming up next, the conclusion, the small habits that make a big difference. We often assume that big, life-changing moments determine how people perceive and respect us. But in reality, it is the small, everyday habits that shape our reputation and relationships. The way we communicate, the way we treat others, and the way we handle setbacks all send signals to the people around us. If we are not careful, certain behaviors can silently erode trust, damage relationships, and hold us back from becoming the best version of ourselves. Gossiping makes people question your loyalty. Passive aggression creates unnecessary tension, and never taking responsibility makes you seem unreliable. Poor hygiene affects not just how others see you, but also how you see yourself. Constant complaining drains the energy of those around you. Chronic lateness signals a lack of respect for others' time, and playing the victim keeps you stuck in a cycle of blame instead of progress. The good news is that these habits are not permanent. They are just patterns of behavior, and patterns can be changed. You do not have to be perfect, and you do not need to fix everything overnight. But you do have to be aware. The moment you choose to speak with integrity instead of gossiping, people begin to trust you more. The moment you communicate directly instead of using passive aggression, your relationships improve. The moment you take responsibility instead of making excuses, you take back control of your life. Small, intentional changes today can lead to massive transformations over time. Now, it is your turn to take action. Which habit hit you the hardest? Which one made you stop and think, "Wow, I do that more than I should"? Drop a comment below, and let's grow together. No judgment, just self-improvement. And if this video made you reflect on something you need to work on, do not just leave it here. Hit the like button to support the channel and subscribe right now. I am committed to bringing you powerful content every week to help you grow, level up, and take control of your life. And if you want to be the kind of person who helps others improve too, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. You now have two choices. You can close this video, go back to your routine, and let everything stay the same. Or you can choose one habit to change today and commit to it. Start small, be consistent, and keep going. Because every step you take today brings you closer to the person you want to become. Your future self will thank you. So let's build a life of self-respect, integrity, and real confidence together. Hit that subscribe button now, and I will see you in the next video. Have you ever felt like you're living by rules you never agreed